It was already a confirmed violation, so why are we creating people? Maybe it's me, but I don't recall ever reading anywhere in IDEA or anywhere in the federal guidelines where it's okay for a teacher to know about what services need to be provided, but not actually have the documentation. Since when is just knowing that an IEP exists enough to meet the student's needs? No documentation on who met the needs, no documentation on anything. How would the state think that that is even okay? How is it documented that she even received those services? Where is the documentation? If it's not on the IEP, then it's not done. That's the rule that I learned when I first moved to Howard County. If you don't have the IEP, then it's definitely not done. Go figure. It was also documented on the state complaint that the teacher knew about it. Somebody had it, but we just don't know who. Huh? How? What? That made me wonder, is this a real state Department of Education? Because that didn't make any sense. The student-specific portion went on to say that if there was a negative impact, that compensatory services needed to be granted. So when we met in February 2024, the behavior specialist who performed the FBA presented her findings. Now, keep in mind, there is a format for completing an FBA. Miss Augustine, who was the behavior specialist who completed my daughter's FBA, did not at any point connect with me to gather information. And the parent information is a huge part of an FBA. She did not observe my daughter at the Pathway School. She contacted the school and got information by phone, but she did not observe her. I told my daughter someone will probably be coming in to observe the classroom. Let me know when you see someone. No one ever went into Howard High School to observe my daughter. The other huge piece of this story is the fact that when Miss Augustine did this FBA, she didn't even use a official Howard County functional behavior assessment form. It was literally a Word document that was created, some very basic, simplistic lines. It didn't have all the information on it, nothing. I have many functional behavior assessments through Howard County for my kids. I know exactly what the form looks like. This wasn't even an official FBA. This was just a document that was created maybe right before she went to bed, just trying to hurry up and get something done for the meeting. Maybe a draft, but even if it was a draft, it didn't have all of the information. So I submitted a complaint recently to the Maryland State Department of Education regarding my concerns about this. Because first of all, Howard County did not do what they were supposed to do by October 1st and have this meeting. And secondly, this wasn't even an official report. So the response that I received basically said, well, your complaint is outside of the timeline at this point. Howard County was outside of the timeline when we had that meeting in February and not before October. But my complaint was outside of the timeline. Therefore, I was given my parental rights to dispute. The fact that I had to pack my family up abruptly and leave just so my son could get the best services before his graduation date, I had to pull my daughter out of cosmetology school and she had to restart in the new state. The state that we moved to, they accepted many of her transfer credits. However, Howard County had agreed to pay 100% of her tuition. Once we moved, my daughter had a $1,200 balance because she had early withdrawal from the prior school, and there was a penalty for early withdrawal. So I didn't think it would be a big deal. I said, hey, this is what's going on, Howard County. Can you pay the balance? Because it's not our fault that we had to move because you didn't do what you were supposed to do and provide my son FAPE. They refused, and my daughter ended up having to take out a $1,200 student loan to pay the balance for her education in cosmetology school, which Howard County agreed to pay. Now she has a student loan that she's going to be required to pay back starting in about 6 months after she finishes school. I don't know the fate of my daughter at this point. So the likelihood is I will end up paying this back. I mentioned this to the state as well. They didn't care. And I was informed of my parental rights. So everything I've mentioned in this video, and trust me, there's so much more that I'm leaving out, but I just can't talk about everything. But the reality is, Howard County's interim superintendent, Mr. Bill Barnes at that time, was made aware of all of this information, everything, as well as the former special education director, Dr. Terrell Savage, who has now taken Mr. Bill Barnes' place as the chief academic officer. See, that's what I mean. Transition of job responsibilities up to the next bad leader. Leaders who do not really truly care about the outcome of special education students, leaders who do not care about doing what is right. This includes the state of Maryland, Maryland State Department of Education. They did not do what was right on behalf of my children. They are the ones who could have put Howard County in line, but they did not do this because why? Howard County is number one. And to maintain that status, you have to look like you're perfect. And they're not. So if you made it this far in this video, you are entitled to hear the final reports from the Maryland State Department of Education and any other reports that I have.